I don't know if there is much more beautiful than looking out at the lake at this moment. It's August. Every year around this time, I go looking for a helicopter. I go and look for a particular Jewish calendar. It's paper. It's a Jewish school year calendar, and it reminds me of my parents. When my father was alive, he would send me one every August in a manila envelope addressed in his lefty slanting script or print or whatever exactly you'd call it that was very distinct. And invariably there was a brightly colored Post-it on it that said something simple like, "Love, Dad," maybe a nudge to write my High Holy Day sermons. It generally made me realize that the holy days were coming and that he was thinking of me. He was also probably saying, "Go get organized before the school year." That's the joys of parental nudging. Mom had that calendar too. Dad had one, Mom had one. And I have memories of them sitting down. They both led really busy lives, but somehow every so often they would sit down between Dad's crazy work schedule and Mom's school calendar and our school vacations, and they would sit down and match up their calendars to figure out when they could go out. They had a big social calendar, when they could have company and holidays and all those things, and they would match up their calendars. They each had the same copy, just in their own handwriting, of what's called the Karben, it was the publisher, Jewish calendar. Well, 18 years after my father's death, I still go for that calendar in August. Now I go online and order it. It loses something when I have to go look for it. It feels a little empty. I don't get the Post-it on it when Dad's written in red or blue flare pen. But it does make me think that somehow my father is smiling somewhere as I'm getting organized for the school year and at least pretending to get ready for high holidays, writing sermons. I don't use it very much. I look at it, I don't write on it, but I return to it for Torah portions, for dates, for just looking at a whole page of a calendar, because most of my life is on a Google Calendar that I share with my colleagues here, with the NSCI larger calendar, with my kids, with their father, But as I turn to this calendar each year, as I order it, as it comes in the mail, it makes me think of my parents and their ritual. I happen to find the Jewish calendar pretty fascinating generally, and not just because of what my job is. Those of you who have been in adult B'nai Mitzvah with me, at least in more recent years, know that I spend an entire class with a calendar. I hand out one of the calendars that we get all those great ones from the funeral homes. There are some in by the Oneg Shabbat. You can take one. We spend an entire class looking at the calendar to see what we can learn. We learn about the moon. We learn about Torah portions. We gain insights into holidays and into the Jewish year and how we bring together our Jewish and secular years, right? The Jewish month looks like it starts in the middle of the English month, and it does, but it's still the beginning of the Hebrew month. Interestingly, Torah gives us several versions of the Jewish calendar in Exodus, Leviticus, and Deuteronomy, and each one is somewhat different. All of the calendar listings link us to holidays we mark today, but none of them, though, are precisely the calendars we have today, because some holidays, well, they were added later. Hanukkah and Purim are post-biblical, for example. This week we read in the Torah portion Re'eh, one of those listings of calendars, at least part of it. We read about the 3 pilgrimage festivals, Passover, Shavuot, and Sukkot. We see in the listing of the 3 festivals some of the change over time in the expectations of these holidays and in the meaning that's attributed. We have, holidays that were initially agricultural, those pilgrimage holidays, and have had a historical overlay come over time. So there's a mix of new and existing traditions, and we see the evolution over time. So, for example, for Passover, we see that there's the history of the Exodus, and there was an agricultural holiday that existed, and somewhere along the way they got put together, along with the ritual of matzot, of unleavened bread, and that of the Paschal lamb. So different traditions came together. In all, we see agriculture and history come together in the meaning of our holidays. For us today, those 3 pilgrimage festivals Shlosha regalim tend to be part of our history, but not necessarily part of our daily lives, though some of us do have really nice summer gardens. Passover in history, historically, Passover, we tell the story of the Exodus, right? Shavuot, we mark the giving of Torah, reading the Ten Commandments. And Sukkot is probably the closest we all around here get to an agricultural holiday. So we go over to the sukkah, decorated with things that grow, even though we also mark the journeys of our ancestors. So as we come to those holidays, at least for me, as I come in Torah, it makes me think each year about the connection we have to these holidays that are biblical, that are ancient, yet the evolution of our traditions. We don't celebrate any of these holidays exactly as our ancestors did. So what are our takeaways? We have these holidays and they're really old, to be super basic. They connect us to the natural world, even if that's not our day job. And our holidays have changed with history. Think, for example, even if you think that your personal family Seder has never changed, because Great Uncle Seymour, I don't know who he is actually, but has never changed it, how many of us actually celebrate Passover the same way our parents or grandparents or other family members did? And there's something else in this week's Torah portion. There's a reminder in the commandments around the three festivals, that, actually in all of them, that these are pilgrimage festivals that are times for people to come together. And they're not allowed to come empty-handed to express their gratitude. So we're not farmers, but that gives us still a powerful message to express gratitude on our holidays. For our ancestors, they went to the fields and picked the best of their harvest. For us, maybe simple, for those of us who volunteer in our garden and then bring the crops to Moraine Township Food Pantry. But we still have a clear message to express gratitude and to not show up empty-handed, to reach out with help to those in our community who are in need. Second, there's something distinct in this week's Torah portion in the calendar. There's one very specific stipulation that's changed in this week's portion. Our ancestors are told to come together in the same place. They've been traveling in the wilderness, and now they're told to come to the place, Torah says, that God has chosen. Scholars explain that this was to give them consistent ritual. You might have made your sacrifice over here by that tree, and you over here by that rock, and you were journeying through the wilderness. But they're getting close to the promised land, and they're bringing the community together to do the same thing, the same time, in the same place. The power of community and common practice. So think about that. It's pretty easy for us here to take for granted, right? We're sitting here, 100 some odd people, just physically here. We're joined knowing that Jews across the globe are celebrating Shabbat, if not at this exact moment, depending on their time zone, right? Whether you have friends in London or Tel Aviv or Hong Kong or Berlin, they're marking Shabbat too. We're not marking Shabbat on Tuesday or Wednesday. We're gathered in community not at the same place because now Jews are in diaspora and we have the validity of our Jewish communities across the globe, but we have that commonality of practice. It links us to Jews we know and Jews we don't. This is an important message, I think, for all time and for our time, not to be taken for granted. Because we live in a time of incredible communication, right? How many people are live streaming this service, for instance? And it's also a time of incredible isolation. It's a time in which many of us seek meaning and connection. We read a lot about it. Maybe some of you read the book that I think our whole clergy team has been reading right now, by Jennifer Brahaney Wallace called Mattering. She and former Surgeon General Dr. Vivek Murthy have both been writing and speaking a lot about that. Wallace's book is called Mattering, The Secret to Building a Life of Deep Connection and Purpose. And she writes, mattering is the assurance that our presence and actions are significant to others. It's the pull you feel towards someone who genuinely appreciates you and your input, or the warm feeling you get when you see that your efforts have made a difference. It's knowing others rely on you in big and small ways. It is the meaningful way we fit together into each other's lives and the wider world, like essential pieces of a puzzle. Mattering is really what synagogue life is about, what Jewish life is about. We look all the time, how do people count? How are we counted? How do we make others count? How can we make the difference in people's lives? So I don't want to give short shrift to their message or to the book this evening. It is an interesting read. But I invite you to think. This week we enter the Hebrew month of Elul. And Elul is the month that leads us into Rosh Hashanah. I invite you as we enter Elul and we move toward the new year to think about how you matter and how you matter as part of this community, because everybody does. We matter in what we do with family and friends. We matter with what we do in our community here and in the larger world. We matter as we gather for Shabbat, as we pray, as we learn, as we bring kindness, as we create. And as we look to the Jewish calendar and we look to Rosh Chodesh Elul, Wednesday and Thursday, we'll look to the new moon. This is a month, Elul, of thoughtful reflection, preparation, and intention. I invite you also to think about your mattering and your counting with our Elul offerings. It's not just a public service announcement, but it's a good one. You have received in your mail, in your email, and there's some copies outside right in Rebecca K. Crown Hall. We have an amazing array of Elul offerings, opportunities to connect, to look within, to connect with community, to study, to sing, to talk, to reflect, to help others. Pick one. Pick a lot, but at least pick one. Find something that you would like to do to increase your showing others how they matter in our community, as well as lifting yourself up and reminding yourself how important you are in our community and our world. And then turn to your calendar, whatever form you use. If you're an old Filofax person or a written paper calendar, or, I don't know, anyone still have a Palm Pilot? I don't think so. Your Google Calendar. And spend some time with your calendar. Yes, look at the extraordinary days, the holidays, but look at the ordinary ones too. I was talking this week with a good friend of my parents who just lost his wife, and his wife was one of those people who remembered everyone's occasion. I would wake up on my birthday and my grandparents' yahrzeits and the anniversary of my ordination with a text from Madeline. And he is grieving, and he said, I can't do what she did. You don't have to. But what if we each turn to 1 or 2 or 3 ordinary days? One thing that we remember about a high school friend or college friend or our next door neighbor, even if we're not on the right date, and we reach out and tell them how they matter to us. Do something that shows them. I invite you to do that, to look to your calendar, to look to ways you want to roll up your sleeves in our world, the holidays you want to mark. If you're not sure who to mark them with, pick up the phone and say to someone else, let's do it together this year. Think about the learning you want to accomplish. Choose your pages, choose your days. We can't do it all. And then beginning Wednesday night, look up each night to the moon. The thing about a new moon is you don't see it on Rosh Chodesh. So Wednesday night you won't see anything, unless you have a really good telescope, I guess. But if you go out every night, for even a moment, and you look up, you'll see the moon grow. And as you do, you'll recognize that we're all looking at that moon, and we're all moving toward the new year together, and we all matter. Shabbat Shalom.